Mystery, intrigue, and a whole load of speculation surrounds this upcoming announcement from Paradox, which has been confirmed to be a new IP from the studio, the publishers, and they've been teasing it over on Twitter X every day this week with a different game from their studios. They started with this one, The Dawn Rises on the Beginning of Human Society. The first teaser for this upcoming IP reminds me a little bit of Humankind's Neolithic era, but maybe that's just me. If we take a closer look at the right-hand side, you'll see that each game is brought in Crusader Kings, Age of Wonders, Europa Universalis, Victoria 3, through Hearts of Iron 4, and finally finishing with Stellaris. Before, of course, the unknown announcement. Let's take a closer look at what they've been teasing each day, and then we'll look at the media and some broader speculation from you. Now on to tweet number 2. This one is from Crusader Kings 3. Of course, the grand strategy game set, well, depending on how you like it, maybe around the year 7 or 800. Now, Crusader Kings 3 tweet and then share the image, and every single one of them will do this. Inside of their tweet, they say that the light of the rising sun shall illuminate a creation that eyes have never before seen. And then inside of both the tweet and the image, the caption is, people bowed to the reign of kings and queens. And so obviously with this one, we get quite a medieval feel. We can see peasantry doing what they do best. Moving along to tweet number 3, Age of Wonders 4. They say, far away from the realms of Age of Wonders, in the galaxy of Paradox, I'm not even going to try and add some extra pronunciations there, land of the Inter and Ractives, punny, a new universe has its first cities. And then, of course, the shared caption, the continuation of our story, with legends ushering in a new age of heroes. Now, Age of Wonders 4 is quite an interesting one in this list, for reasons we'll talk about later, but of course, as you may well know, it's a fantasy game, and much of the others, with the exception of Stellaris, of course, are basically all historical grand strategy. And so I was very interested to see how they were going to approach this one, and as you can see by the text, it mentions legends and a new age of heroes. Again, myths and legends, kind of historical. Of course, they repeat throughout human history. Europa Universalis, speaking of human history, says, prepare to embark on a journey through the annals of history. The Renaissance unlocked new ways of thinking. And this theme of moving through history is obviously a very strong one in the images and everything. And the caption, of course, the specific part, the Renaissance unlocked new ways of thinking. As we move through yet again to the final one, as of the time of recording this video anyway, there will of course be 2 more to follow. From Victoria 3, they say, Victorians, something new blooms. We've been hearing reports of strange, get this and check the dictionary, dirigibles, which are airships, and unusual technology approaching through the ether. The shared quote being, allowing many to rise above what was thought possible. And obviously, we're looking at an airship here, so the insinuation is fairly straightforward. Whew, quite a lot. So as we look through the schedule again, obviously there'll be 2 more teasers to come as of the time of recording this video, and most of them have been grand strategy games. 4 or 5 based in history, and 2 of them a little bit outside of that realm. Yet from what we saw in Age of Wonders teaser, it seems to be that we're leaning into some sort of progression through history, right? You can see it here as well on this initial announcement. Maybe ignore the 2 thrones part, but I don't know. And of course, to piece our story together, let's see if it fits. The dawn rises on the beginning of human society. People bowed to the reign of kings and queens. With legends ushering in a new age of heroes, the Renaissance unlocked new ways of thinking, allowing many to rise above what was thought possible. And all of this comes together with much dubious speculation, but also some media reporting. You can see, for example, Wargamer here reports that Paradox is teasing a civilization-like grand strategy game about guiding a civilization through the ages, and fans think its name is Millennia. They go on to share a bit more detail about, sort of where this is coming from. They talk about the tweets and some of the images that we'll take a look at as we move through that we've talked about already. And in the detail, they move on to say that it doesn't take a genius to put the dots together. It seems highly likely that this project is a new 4X game, which, like Civilization, lets you foster a nation from the very earliest days of humanity to some point in the future. We would assume it's being published by Paradox and developed by C-Prompt Games, though obviously nothing is confirmed yet. And of course that last part is really important to reinforce, that nothing here is confirmed. The evidence for 4X, I'm not quite sure where they've found that part, for example, though of course entirely possible. I'm particularly interested in this assumption, not the paradox part, that seems a given, but the C-Prompt Games. Who are they? Well, let's find out, because of course they have a website. It is 2023 after all. C-Prompt is an independent game developer, and we see a beautiful shot of what looks to be in line with everything else that we've seen so far. Their honestly pretty bare bones website has really only two things on this main page: that they're hiring and that something exciting is on the horizon. And when you click into it, you see that they're creating an epic new strategy franchise. That image on the right, of course, will look very familiar to you, not only from the thumbnail, the left-hand side, for Paradox's upcoming premiere, but also, of course, and mainly the source image, is this, the very first teaser that we looked at, the very first tweet on the 15th of September. Now, back on their website, where they talk about creating an epic new strategy franchise, we also got these images. This one reminds me a little bit of teaser number 2. It has kind of a slightly mythos theme to it, and obviously looking at the boats and the architecture, we can maybe infer a rough time period. Likewise here too, probably or maybe a different part of the world. And finally, this image is perhaps the most head-scratching of all. We can see what looks to be an underwater city, and of course a submarine there in the primary part of the shot. That one maybe doesn't quite align with the rest, and there are several sort of slightly head-scratching moments like that. One that I've seen people speculating about on Twitter X is this one, the Victoria 3 one, that does look a bit steampunky. And of course we didn't actually have blimps flying around our slightly almost futuristic looking Victorian era cities. So there are elements here that don't seem to quite align with the broader, historically accurate theme. Back over on their website though, one thing that does smack you in the face when you go to the About page is all of this Age of Empires. Age of this, age of that. Ages, by the way, have been a theme obviously throughout this video as well. When we learn a little bit more about C-Prompt, we see that they're an independent studio founded by Robert and Ian and joined by Brian, and they've worked on loads of games like Age of Mythology, Age of Empires 2, Age of Kings, also some other ones, Orcs Must Die, Diablo, System Shock, etc. They say that they like to develop games with systems-based designs, high degrees of replayability, and strong, emergent narrative. They want us to be able to tell stories. And of course the 4X historical strategy, the grand strategy, all of this, RPG even, if you look at Crusader Kings 3, the kind of merger with strategy, all of it is pretty good at storytelling. And of course, you have been speculating like wild, pulling all of this together. The most common theme that I've come across is that this game will be some kind of Civ style, civilization builder, strategy, grand strategy. Some questions around real-time, turn-based. Of course, still loads of unknowns, but this general sentiment, given the teasers that we've seen of course, is that it will be some kind of grand strategy, Civ-like building game. Other people of course have speculated around the edges, the strong steampunk vibes from the Victoria teaser, rebutted by a user saying that maybe we'll be able to go down paths untaken in our own history. Following further speculation around that sort of Civ clone, Civ-like game, you just see it come through again and again and again. But of course, there are always some other outside theories. Some of them probably jokes, Paradox's entry into the Battle Royale genre, for example. That would completely blindside me. Completely. Something like Rise of Nations, an amazing game, bought at EB Games, fantastic. And of course, other speculation around the artwork, its name, many people referring to it as Project Millennia. Airships, another point that we talked about earlier, maybe it's not strictly historical, but there's always a lighthouse. This leaves us with largely actually just a lot of questions. And as you can see, Paradox will hopefully be giving us some answers. For me, it's the 22nd of September at 3 in the morning, but for you it'll likely be the 21st of September. In Western Europe, you're probably looking at your early afternoon. In America, probably the morning. So, what do you think our future holds, looking at the teasers, the artwork, the evidence, and the likely studios and publishers behind this future game? What's it going to be? Let me know below. I'll see you next time.